Good morning, members of the teaching faculty and boys. This morning, I would like to talk about first impressions and trustworthiness. Imagine this. You're walking down the street one day casually. You see another student walking towards you in your direction. You notice that he or she is from another school. Perhaps you take a look at the person's school tie or school badge and immediately be able to identify where he or she goes to school. Another glance at the way he or she wears the school uniform or the mannerisms give you some reference points by which you determine what type of person he or she is. How long do you think it usually takes for a person to form a first impression? Minutes? Hours? According to some studies, it takes exactly 1/10 of a second to form a first impression. And by first impression, they mean that people will decide whether you are one, genuine, or two, trustworthy. 1/10 of a second, 0.1 seconds. Just like the example we used at the beginning of the sharing, people will form an impression of you through observing various aspects of you, the way you walk, the way you talk, your facial expressions, among many other subtleties. The psychologist Albert Mehrabian points to 3 elements that inform first impressions. That is, when we decide whether we like or dislike a person. There are 3 things. 1 says words constitute about 7% of the message, 7% only. Your tone of voice constitutes about 38%, and your body language constitutes about 55%. So that means how you behave and act is often more important to people than what you say. Certainly, we remind ourselves that we must never jump to conclusion about another person, but it is also true in life that life is filled with occasions when people have very little time to form an impression of you, but they have to, because of the nature of the occasion, make a decision about you. This happens at interviews for official posts in the school, in oral presentations and exams, interviews for scholarships, and of course, interviews for jobs. In light of this, do you think it's easier to work from a positive first impression and continue to build upon it, or try to turn a negative first impression into a positive one? I think we all know the answer. You may say, isn't this really unfair? How do we know how other people think? We cannot always act according to other people's preferences, right? And are you asking us to be fake and pretend to be nice? These are very valid questions, and we're not asking you to be who you are not. But sometimes we as teachers worry about you because, 1, sometimes your outward expressions do not genuinely show what you mean to convey, especially what you have inside. And this takes time to learn and adjust. 2, sometimes you are not as sensitive to an environment or proper etiquette as some of your peers, and we worry about that, especially in a group interview setting. 3, sometimes you are way too casual with your demeanor, especially when you're in a group setting or when you're not aware that people are watching you. But I also know, gentlemen, that you are quick to react and adjust. Many times I see teachers correcting you and immediately you make the change. The tricky thing, however, is that we may not get a second chance to form a first impression. The good news is that there are simple things that we could do to form a good impression, especially when it is done in a genuine manner. On a daily basis, one of the things you can do is to make eye contact with people, or a nod or a simple smile says a lot because it acknowledges the other person and it shows that you're happy to be seeing them. If you see a janitor working in the classroom or when you see a teacher in the corridors, acknowledge them. 2, simply open the door for people because it means that you care for the other person's well-being. 3, say thank you to people because it shows people that you appreciate what they have done for you. And 4, listen with intent to learn, because it shows that you appreciate what the speaker or the teacher has to share. Fortunately or unfortunately, we're being judged both as individuals and as a collective. People who see you will assume that all DBS boys behave like you. So you are ambassadors for the school, whether you like it or not. When you ask what you can do for DBS, do not think that you have to do great and mighty things. Do not think that you must be on a school team. Do not feel that you have to win multiple awards. Simply be a caring, considerate person to the people around you, and that is already good enough. There is a saying that goes like this: the real worth of a gentleman isn't the suit on his back, but the character in his heart. The character in his heart. Dear boys, let what is truly in your heart shine through, and you will be a great ambassador and a gentleman for yourself and for DBS. Thank you.